Well, they say all roads lead to Rome. I'm not a historian, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Constantine the Great who placed the 0 milestone in the Forum in Rome, and the Roman Empire used that as a reference point for everywhere in the Roman Empire, and so thus the phrase all roads lead to Rome. But that was the Roman Empire. That was thousands of years ago. Right now, my focus is in the very near future. 3 months from now, I'll be heading off on the Appalachian Trail, and that trail leads to Mount Katahdin from Springer Mountain. So I'm continuing my preparations to do that 2,200 mile hike. But that's 3 months from now, and in my preparations right now, the trail I'm on right now doesn't lead to Rome, nor does it lead to Mount Katahdin. Right now, this trail is simply leading to my new home here in San Miguel de Allende. So let's head on into the house, and I'll talk a little bit more about my preparation and what has brought me to this point, and what hopefully is going to carry me all the way to Mount Katahdin. Let's talk a little bit more about what I'm doing to prepare for my 2,200 mile hike of the Appalachian Trail. You know, a lot of times when I'm sharing my aspirations with other people about wanting to do this crazy long hike and getting out and camping and all that stuff, a lot of times they say, "Oh, you must have been a Boy Scout," and I say, "Well, not really. I wasn't really into the Scouts. I was more into sports, actually. I was all about, Little League baseball and Pee Wee football and all that stuff. But my very short scouting experience was I was second or third grade, whatever grade you're in when you're Cub Scouts, not really officially a full-fledged Boy Scout, but there was Cub Scouts. And I showed up at school one day, and I saw a lot of these other guys wearing these really cool uniforms. Yeah, they're Cub Scout uniforms. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I wanted to look into this Cub Scout thing, and I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I got to be a Cub Scout. All the other guys are Cub Scouts, and I wanted that uniform, and just because that seemed pretty cool." So I eventually persuaded my mom to let me join the Cub Scouts and get the uniform and all that, and they were getting ready to plan the what were they called, the dens, my den or pack or whatever it was. We're planning a hike to this park, Turkey Run. This is in Indiana, and there's a state park called Turkey Run, and they were going to do a hike, and I thought, whatever. That's cool. And I was all excited, and not only was I going to go on my first hike ever, everybody was going to be meeting at my house before we took off to Turkey Run. And so I was all excited, and I so excited that I got up early in the morning, and it was raining. and I was all bummed out. On the Appalachian Trail, it'll be raining a lot, and there's a term called "embrace the suck," and that applies to hiking in rain and cold and stuff like that. But as Cub Scouters, I was sure that they were going to cancel the hike in this pouring down rain. So I'm all bummed out, and my mother says, "Now, Billy, it may stop raining. Don't worry about it." Because I was up way early anyway, long before anybody was going to be showing up. And so eventually, you know what? My mom was right. The rain stopped and the sun started to come out, and even a few of the other scouts started to show up at my house, and so there was a tree outside my house right along the driveway there. And I think it was a cherry tree, or it was a pretty good big tree. It wasn't like a little cherry. We called it a cherry tree, but I think just because it had these little things growing on it. I don't think it was actually a cherry tree, but because it was, I think, much larger than a cherry tree would be. But it had these little red berries growing on it. But anyway, so we decided, well, the thing to do while we're waiting for everybody else is to, go out and climb the tree. I've climbed that tree a million times, and it's a fun thing to do. And so I'm out there climbing with my friends, but it had just rained, and there was the branches were still wet, and I hit a slick part on one of the wet, slippery parts of a branch, and I was pretty high up, and I fell. And thump, I hit the ground, and I looked and picked myself up and didn't appear to be hurt. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could jump from all the way up there. So I climbed all the way back up to the spot from which I had fallen and got everybody's attention. I said, hey, everybody, look at me. I can jump from here. And I let it go. And on the way down, I must have hit another branch, turned a little bit sideways. I landed on my side right across the edge of the driveway where we had the stone lining, a curb along the driveway. And I fell on my left arm, my body on it. This bone snapped right here, and it was all disconnected right here. And my arm looked like an accordion. And so, all the rest of my pack or troop or whatever they were, all the other guys were off to Turkey Run. I was off to the hospital. And I spent pretty much the rest of the summer in this gigantic cast that went all the way from my shoulder down around my hand. And that didn't completely hinder my what I really loved was playing baseball during the summer. And eventually I learned to sort of swing a bat with one hand, and did manage to play a little bit even with the cast on my arm. But that pretty much summarizes my scouting experience. So yeah, my hiking experience really didn't start until later in my life. I liked camping a little bit. I'd lived in central Minnesota for a while, and I had a dog, and we liked camping and canoeing along the upper Mississippi River, and that was fun. But the hiking was very minimal. And like I said, it wasn't really until I did that first hike of the Inca Trail that I thought, this hiking thing is pretty fun. And so in more recent years, in the last decade or so, I have actually started doing a lot more hiking, and that's where most of my experiences come from. But I still lack, I don't really have any real through hiking experience. The closest thing would have been this summer when I did the Camino de Santiago, but that was not a wilderness hike, and I wasn't sleeping in tents. So I still consider myself a very inexperienced through hiker anyway. So this summer is going to be a big challenge for me. So other preparations that I've done, I started doing a lot of reading. So let's grab some of my books. Okay, I think these are most of my hiking books right here. I got about a half dozen here, and I've read these. So let's go ahead into my den, and we'll talk about these books. Okay. All right, let's go. Turn on some lights. Okay. So once I started seriously, after I, hiked some of those other trails, I started seriously thinking about doing the Appalachian Trail and sharing the idea with some of my friends. One of my friends said, "Oh, Bill, well, have you read Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods?" And I hadn't. And so that was actually the first book that I read. And that was a nice book. I mean, some of the reading that I've done and, my other research, I've discovered that it's not the most accurate depiction of what it is really like hiking the Appalachian Trail. But one of the nice things I liked about this book, and which they did make into a movie with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte and I think some other famous people. But the book was really good because it did talk. Bill Bryson talked about the history of the national parks and the history of the Appalachian Trail in a lot more detail than the movie did. But there was a lot of anecdotal stuff about this crazy woman that they met early on in the trail. And so the movie is definitely entertaining. I definitely recommend both the book and the movie if you just sort of want to get a taste of kind of what it's like on the Appalachian Trail. Very entertaining reading and entertaining movie as well. But this was actually the first reading that I did, and then after I read the book, I watched the movie as well, and then I learned about another movie that was out, and I don't have that book here. It's called Wild. That book, actually, I think it's up in my bedroom right now because I was looking through it the other day. But that book, I actually saw. In that case, I saw the movie before I read the book, and I haven't completely read the book. And but I really, the book I think is actually probably really good as well. But as I said, I watched that movie first. Very different type of movie. Cheryl Strayed, the author, was an autobiography basically of her life and how hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. This was not the Appalachian Trail, but the Pacific Crest Trail. How that changed her life, and also a lot about what I've experienced on my limited hiking is the opportunity of getting out into nature and walking on a trail, and how that can really give you a great opportunity to sort of reflect and think about what's really important in your life. So. Those were probably the first two books that I read, and in the case of Wild by Cheryl Strayed, I've just been reading bits and pieces of that along, and that's well. Oops, sorry about that. Looks like my battery died on me, but that gave me a chance while I was recharging the battery in my camera to go up and get Cheryl Strayed's book Wild. Yeah, it's really tricky. Like I said, I watched the movie first, and then I've been going through the book. And when you read a book after watching the movie, you try to make connections. And there's a lot of flashbacks in the movie, and so it made it a little bit tricky because I was looking for certain passages based upon having watched the movie. So it's been kind of interesting going through Cheryl Strayed's book. But really good, actually. For A Walk in the Wild, I thought the book and the movie were both really good, and the movie here was good. But I think that I'm really going to, as I continue sort of piecing together pieces of the book here, I think I really am enjoying the book actually even more than the movie in this case. Now, these other books that I have. Are actually each of these actually I think will give you a better idea of what hiking the Appalachian Trail is really like. This book here, Walking in the Spring, is about Earl Schaefer. He was actually is credited as the first person to actually walk the entire Appalachian Trail nonstop, and that's a really interesting book. He was a veteran of World War II, and hiking the trail was a way for him to sort of, get back into the real world after, his experience in World War II. And then this book by David Miller, AOL on the Appalachian Trail, actually is probably, I would say, as far as really wanting to get a good idea, if you're thinking about hiking the Appalachian Trail, is probably has the most practical information. And I really sort of, reading it, I kind of admired him because he's a person that I'm retired now. I don't have to worry about, taking time off of work, and I don't have a family, not to worry about a family, but he actually left his job and had a family and all these other things to worry about, but decided he was just so compelled to hike the trail that he did it. And the book talks about all of that, along with some just really good, plain old practical information. And then Tray Free, Pushing North. This is kind of interesting because this is another veteran, more recent years. What was he in? Was he a Navy SEAL or something like that? Special Forces or something like that. And he really sort of equated, what it takes to hike the Appalachian Trail to what it takes to be, a member of, I think he was the Special Forces of, what it is, if that's the Army, Marines, or whatever it is. But this book really touches more on the mental aspect of hiking the Appalachian Trail. There's a saying that, the first part of the trail, the first third of the trail is physical, the middle part of the trail is mental, and then the final part of the trail is spiritual. But he really talks about, the psyche and having the right mindset to successfully hike the Appalachian Trail. So those are just some of the books that I've read or in the process of reading. Here's another one that I've been reading, A Million Steps. But anyway, or 10 million steps, I should say. So those are some of the books that I've been reading. And then, I've also been studying. I have my map up here as well of the Appalachian Trail that I've been, checking. Okay, because I'm really looking forward to getting to Damascus, which is right as soon as I enter Virginia, I think. And so I've been tracking all the different places, and then Harper's Ferry. When I enter West Virginia, that's about the halfway point. And so I've been just sort of tracking myself on the map on the wall. And then, of course, I've also been watching a lot of YouTube videos. And those videos, like the books, you get different things out of different ones. So, yeah, I think probably the first YouTube person talking about the Appalachian Trail and hiking in general, I think is possibly the most popular person out there is Dixie Wonderlust something hiking or something. And she's informative and really sort of low key and a good source for information. But probably one of the more entertaining is Kyle from Kyle Hates Hiking. He's a lot of fun to read. He has some useful information, but has this sort of adolescent kind of obnoxious way of presenting his material, and it's informative, but for me a little more entertaining than informative. Sort of, he has that sort of adolescent boy presentation that's entertaining, and then there's tons of them out there, and what's her name? The New Hampshire hiker. I've watched a lot of. I started watching her when she actually first started hiking the trail back in 2020 and had to get off because of the pandemic. And so she's been entertaining to watch. And then each year people do what I've been doing, vlogging their experiences, and I've been, following a lot of them, and it's interesting to see who actually, some of them you start following and say, oh, they'll be interesting to follow, and then all of a sudden you don't see any more videos from them, and in some cases they will do a video saying that they had to get off the trail for various reasons or things like that. But sometimes you just don't hear from them anymore. So you kind of assume that maybe they didn't make it. But then the ones that do, you're glad for them. And so it's, you get a little bit of an idea of the experience. So YouTube has also been a source of information and preparation for me to get ready for the trail. So that's about it for now. I think I've taken enough of your time. I'm about ready to head out to the market, do a little bit of shopping. And so until next time, as Roy Rogers and Dale Evans would say, happy trails.
Por tu culpa tomaré. Tú más aclárame que digas cuando te pregunte quién no voy a con tu ya me olvides que si ya no me extrañas te contestas.